What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the PS5 career mode. This is episode number 29. And we start today's episode off with a London derby and a trip to North London to face Arsenal away at the Emirates Stadium, who this season in the game are having a fantastic start to the campaign. Right now sitting in the top 4 and possibly having an outside shot of the title. Heading to the match on the back of our defeat to Everton by 3-0 in the Carabao Cup last 16 and our last Premier League game, the goalless draw at home to West Ham. The goals have certainly, I was going to say dried up, but certainly have come a premium this season and last season as well. We've really struggled with the ball in the back of the net. With Nketiah returning back to the Emirates Stadium since his summer transfer move, I was hopeful he'd have a stormer. In the end, the only thing of note he did was get injured. Yes, very frustrating game indeed. Got dominated in possession, as you expect when you go away to Arsenal. 63% of it they had. But in the end, a goalless draw, and we'll certainly take that result. And thankfully, Nketiah's injury is just a bruised shoulder, and he's out for 5 days. So to end October on the back of the goalless draw there, and back-to-back goalless draws to end the month. As you can see, 11 games in right now, we're in 10th. 17 points on the board. It's been a very decent start. We're already 12 clear of Sheffield United in 18th place and 13 clear of Fulham and Burnley in 19th and 20th. I don't want to jinx this. We've seen many times before in Premier League football teams feeling as though they're going to be safe, a long way away before the end of the season, and then they go on horrendous runs of form and get dragged into a relegation scrap come the end of the season. As we see here, some really, really bad news. Ozcan has tore his ACL in a training injury and is going to be out for the remainder of the season. That is gutting, because Ozcan has been one of our most unsung heroes in this team since we signed him on a free transfer in the summer of last year. That really is gutting. I love Ozcan, man. He's a great underrated player in this team. But yeah, I'm not gonna count my chickens just yet. There's a long way to go, and whilst it does feel as though we're probably going to be finishing no lower than mid-table this year, I'm not going to take anything for granted. There's a long way to go. We can still get sucked down there come the end of the season. But yeah, so frustrating as well. You see the academy update and also a scouting update too. Now, briefly on this as well, I will be sending the youth scouts out either in the next episode or the episode afterwards. Thank you for everyone that is voting, but I need to let people give it a chance to vote before I send them out. And also as well, I promoted a youngster out of our academy as well. A new youth player graduates today, and he's got the exciting prospect as well. It's the one I've been showing you more than any other. It's Cameron Wilkinson, 16 years old, 65 rated. He's got some really good stats. 81 strength, decent stamina. Physically, that's his best sort of range of attributes, with 81 for his physical rating. And with his range of stats, I got to be honest here, I think he could play as a ball-winning midfielder in this team. If we get that stamina up, we get the passing up, and also the reactions up as well, there's no reason he couldn't be a ball midfielder. He's got a little bit of pace about him. The defensive stats aren't bad. He is 5'11", and I mean, we know how it goes, right? Seriously, 5'11" to 6 foot. There seems to be a massive difference between the two for football managers and also girls on Tinder. But for me, 5'11" is not too bad, and Cameron's doing it for all the 5'11" guys out there. They get swiped right on Tinder. No, is it swiped right or swiped left? Because they, well, I wouldn't even know, to be honest. But yeah, Cameron Wilkinson wearing a number 51 to mark him being 5'11". He's proud of being 5'11". He doesn't come off on some girls' Tinder search just because he falls 1 inch short of the inch they're looking for. But yeah, Cameron Wilkinson out of the academy, and again, I think he could be a ball midfielder range of stats he's got. I'm going to train him there and see how he gets on. But also, I'll give him some game time at the centre back position, I'm sure, as well. Still for the second game of today's episode, taking on Southampton at home, looking to return to winning ways on the back of none in our last 3. And heading into the game, Lyndon Dykes, of course, would score against us, the Australian-born Scot who we sold to Southampton last season. Point to prove, and he did there, great goal. But all I'll say is this: Nketiah or Dykes? It's Nketiah every day of the week. He slowed down a little bit recently, but what a goal there by Eddie to break his mini goal drought, get back on the score sheet and make it 1-1. And 11 minutes after the restart, we'll get ourselves in front for the first time in the game and turn the game with its head, and it's Chris Willock who gets the goal as well. And since selling Bright or say Samuel, he shared the game time with Jack Harrison, and whilst he's got a long way to go before he hits the heights that Bright did in this team, he's not been a bad little step in for our former captain. Still, despite taking the lead, Southampton would peg us back just minutes later to make it 2-2 in what was a really, really topsy-turvy game, and that was how the match would finish as well. These are the games of FIFA I really enjoy as well. These are the really really fun, open, fast-paced games. These are the games I really enjoy playing, and even if I don't win, I'm still glad to have played them because they're really, really fun. 2-2 was the final score. The Saints got a good start this season as well, right now in the top 10. I'll certainly take that point. However, it does mean the winless run continues, and needing to get back to winning ways, this was not the game I felt confident we'd have a chance in doing so. Yes, our first meeting this season with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City after they demolished us in the FA Cup final last year by 3-0. I decided to rotate a lot of my team for this game and give a lot of fringe players chances, but one player that is really struggling this season is Rob Dickie, and I think the former Oxford defender is probably on his way out the door in January. He's only 26 years old, but oh my word, how do you lose out to Raheem Sterling twice in the air when you're listed at 6'5"? I've got absolutely no idea. He's not 6'5" in real life either, that's wrong from EA. But either way, he's so tall in the game, and yet somehow he lost 2 aerial duels to Raheem Sterling. Unbelievable. So City going a goal up there, and then on the stroke of the half an hour mark, Michael Obafemi, the former Saint, would put Man City 2 goals up, and just minutes later, still trailing by 2. It was one of those games where I just never really got going, and of course I feared the worst right towards the start of the match, because I knew we were never going to get anything from this game. That's why I picked such a weakened lineup, and as Obafemi made it 3-0 right before the break, I thought it would be a long afternoon, and we could get battered by like 6-7-0. Thankfully stemmed the flow in the second half, and that was how the game would finish in the end. Shaking a hand from Pep Guardiola. He knows I'm a young manager with a lot to prove, and I'm doing well in my first stint in professional football, but there's a long way to go before I'm as good as him, and there's a long way to go before we're as good as his team as well. 3-0 the final score, Man City get the win, and the winless run continues. No wins in our last 5 games in all competitions, and just, I think, 2 goals in our last 5 as well. Things looking really troubling for the R's right now, and this is why I was saying, even though we were so many points clear of the bottom 3, we weren't going to take anything for granted. And so for our 4th game of Southampton, now taking on the Magpies here, Stu Bruce's side coming to welcome us here at the Cayenne Prince Foundation Stadium. 66 minutes in, first real event of the game. Jack Harrison going down and staying down as well after a corner whipped in to the middle, and with 8 minutes to go, still 0-0. Looking like another game where we failed to get a goal and therefore failed to get the 3 points. Aaron storms down the right, rolls it infield, and who's there to turn it in and win us the game with 6 minutes of normal time to go? Chris Willock, 2nd goal in 3 games for the right midfielder, as he gives us the goal that wins us the match. It's not the first time he's come up big and scored a game winner for us. He did it against West Brom last season as well to win a massive relegation 6-pointer. Wins us the game there. Huge pressure relieving 3 points developed by Chris, and you would have noticed as well, one of the players that started that game too was indeed Cameron Wilkinson, the 16-year-old. I gave him his debut in the central defensive midfielder position, as thankfully Harrison's injury is just a bruised shoulder. And as he came to me after the game, he said, "Hey boss, I know people have been talking about the position you're playing me in. I just wanted to say I'm ready to do whatever's necessary to make us successful. I'm happy to play as a defensive midfielder if that's part of your plan." And I'm not sure whether he will play as a holding midfielder throughout the course of his entire career, but I will say this, I'm very big on the guy's stats. He does look really, really good indeed. His base stats are 16, and with the exciting prospect tag too, he is exciting. He's very, very exciting indeed. I'm not sure he'll have the same impact as the Bull, but I certainly do see him being a regular member of our team for many, many seasons. Still for the 4th game of today's episode, travelling to Goodison Park to take on Everton away from home. Of course, the side knocked out of the EFL Cup round of 16. This is one of those games where, unfortunately, my problems were laid bare for all to see. Defensively, absolutely superb, as we are in many of our games. When going forward, we create a lot of chances, but just can't finish them. We had 7 shots in the game, 4 on target. Alessio Cragno, to be fair, did make some really good saves, but Brian probably missed a couple of sitters in the first half. He's still yet to score his first goal of the season. So frustrating, but not a bad goal to draw against an informed Everton side right now in 7th place. And as we're now 15 games into the season, enter December, we're 4 points behind the Toffees in 7th place right now in that final Europa League spot, and still well clear at the bottom 3 as well, because we extend the gap on the teams in the relegation zone right now, heading into a busy month of December, where we've got Manchester United, Liverpool twice, the Blades twice, and Leeds away at Ellen Road as well. So yeah, it's been a really tough run. Just 1 win in our last 6 in all competitions, but it's not been a bad season. It's really, really hard to explain how the season's looking at the moment because, well, for the first part, we're just locked in 10th. It seems like now we're not gonna move from 10th between now and the end of the season. And listen, I'll certainly take that. But yeah, we started off in pretty good form for us. And Eddie Nketiah and Charles Ball, of course, were tearing the league up at the start of the campaign. They've both calmed down since then in terms of their respective goals and assists as well. But yeah, whilst only one win in our last 6 in all competitions, it's clearly not been that bad when right now we're sitting in mid-table and well clear of the bottom 3 and only a few points off of the final Europa League spot. So I guess it's all perspective really. Yes, the run recently has been pretty goddamn poor, but we haven't lost that many games. We've just been drawing a lot and we're still doing okay, especially considering at the start of the season I was thinking around 10th to 13th, 14th is where I'm targeting. Right now we're bang on the money and doing what we expected. But still, for the first game of a busy month of December, now taking on Manchester United at home here. Of course, the Red Devils, who we knocked out in the FA Cup semi-final last season to reach our first major cup final of the season. Taking on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side, well, you know the chant, £50 million down the drain as Tony Marshall scores again. Is it 50 million? No, it's just 50 million. 50 million down the drain as Tony Marshall scores again. Well, he bagged a brace in the first half, so that money's looking like a pretty decent investment right now as the Frenchman put Manchester United 2 goals up heading into half-time. We did bag a goal just after the hour mark to make it 2-1, reduce the deficit and try and get back in the match. Eddie Nketiah getting a fortunate bounce there, turning in his own rebounded shot. But with 10 minutes to go, I tell you, man, I've told you so many times and I'll say it once again. This guy is my arch nemesis on FIFA and I swear he is impossible to stop. There's only one game I've kept him quiet. That was the FA Cup semi-final last year. He is just literally unstoppable in this year's FIFA, man. And as he got an assist for one of the Martial goals and that lovely free kick goal towards the end of the game as well. Manchester United do win it by 3-1 to make sure our poor run of form gets extended ever further. 1 win in our last 7 in all competitions. And so for our final game of today's episode, well, taking on the Blades away at Bramwell Lane against Sheffield United, I thought with the pressure on my back right now on a really poor run of form, if we lose this game to a side I've only won, I think once or possibly twice all season long and sat in a relegation zone, there'll be talk as to whether it's possibly time for me to go. So I thought I've got to make sure we return to winning ways in this one. Nketiah scored in the last game and hopefully Nketiah now is back to his best as well. 2 goals in his last 2 games. A pretty poor run of form for our number 9 until these last 2 matches, but 2-2 for Eddie Nketiah as he bangs it in from close range and 15 minutes in, celebrates the travelling fans. Yes, it's been a poor run of form, but we're still having a good season, all things considered. 1-0 to the R's and just past the half an hour mark, a chance to make it 2. Jack Harrison steps in from the right hand side and gets his first goal for the club since coming in on a free transfer as well. Harrison with the finish there, really pleased to see him scratch for the first time, and we're 2 goals up right before the break here in Yorkshire. God, did we need this result. And to be honest, throughout the entire game we just controlled it really. Yes, there was a lot of pressure, but I still felt confident. And with a few minutes to go, still leading by 2-0. I've got to be honest here, I thought this should have been offside, but it wasn't given. The flag stayed down, and as Viktor Kovalenko ran through down the right hand side, he rolled it across the face of the goal, and who was there to turn it in from close range? Finally, just like Jack, he scratches for the first time this season. Brian Brobby on the score sheet for the first time this campaign, off the bench, wraps up the points. 3-0 the final score, and I swear I was smiling and all smiles come the final whistle. I certainly wasn't before kickoff. I was a little bit anxious. I felt confident, but I was still a little bit anxious. How we lost that game, we would have been in deep trouble for 1 win in our last 8 games. But that win there takes us into 8th place in the table with just 4 points separating us and Everton in that 7th and final Europa League spot. Crazy, isn't it? We've been on a really poor run of form, and yet somehow we jumped up in the table. That just goes to show you sometimes your luck is in and your luck is out. And right now our luck is in with other teams faltering around us in the table. But that was this episode of the PS5 career mode, guys. So a big thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, and if you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you for the next episode of the PS5 career mode as we close out December and play our FA Cup 3rd round tie as well very soon.